MP Bagwan.
B1601.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that since his assumption of duty in 2021, the General Manager of the STC has undertaken 5 overseas missions as follows. The first mission was at the Dubai Expo 2020 in the United Arab Emirates from the 19th to the 24th February. The purpose of this mission was to participate in the pre-port and logistic event with a view to discovering the opportunities for joint ventures and new avenues for cooperation with various countries. The mission costs amounted to 113,636 rupees, while the allowances of 3,057 USD, equivalent to 134,263.44 rupees, were paid, including per diem. The General Manager participated for 4 days, while the mission period for the delegation was 8 days. The second mission from the 11th per diem. Number 3, here again the initial period for the mission was for 12 days, but the GM has shortened the duration of his stay. Next, the third mission was in India from the 14th to 18th September 2022, where the GM had to sign a memorandum of understanding between the STC and the National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation, the NAFED, and also to explore the possibilities of procuring pulses, rice, and other agricultural products from India. The mission costs amounted to 104,111 rupees, and the allowance was 1,608 USD, equivalent to 72,022 rupees 32 cents. The fourth mission from the 13th to the 15th March 2023 in New Delhi, India, was in the context of the C2 Partnership Summit 2023. The purpose of the mission was to further the agenda of strengthening partnerships and shaping new economic collaborations between countries and among businesses. The mission costs amounted to 3,193 USD, equivalent to 147,835.90 rupees. And the allowance was 1,405 USD, which is equivalent to 66,519 rupees, including per diem. The fifth mission, from the 19th to the 28th August 2023, was also in India. The purpose of the mission, which was in the context of a ban by the government of India on the exportation of long-grain white rice, was to negotiate for the supply of long-grain white rice. The mission costs amounted to 62,221 rupees, and the allowance was 4,288 USD, equivalent to 198,577.28 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that all the allowances and per diem paid to Mr. R.S. are in line with the provisions of Circular Number 10 of 2017 of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, and that the former has, to the extent possible, shortened the duration of each and every mission which he has attended. Thank you.
Can the Minister inform the House whether where cases missions were shortened, whether il a remboursé les per diem qu'il avait perçus avant son départ? Et si oui, à quelle période, combien de temps après son retour il a remboursé?
Mr. Speaker, sir, unfortunately, I don't have the information, but I can table it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I know from the Honourable Minister the trade exchange between Iran and STC since the visit of the General Manager of the STC? The trade exchange between Iran, Honourable Minister? Yes. Trade exchange between Iran and the Republic and the STC since the visit of the General Manager of the STC in Iran.
Do you have the reply for this?
I don't have information, but he is asking. I don't have the following information, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay. Next question. MP Boulel.
Yes, sir. Maybe stroke 1602.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in my reply to the private notice question on Tuesday, 14th November 2023, I provided detailed information and extensive clarification regarding the recent flooding at Old Mocha Road, Saint-Jean. With regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that an order form was issued by the NDU to Desai Associate Limited on 16 August 2022 under its framework agreement for consultancy services to carry out the study, design, supervision of works for flood mitigation measures at Saint-Jean Cemetery. However, Desai and Associate Limited declined the assignment on the 14th of September 2022 due to contractual issues. The matter was subsequently referred to the Performance Review Committee of my ministry, which recommended that negotiation be carried out so that the consultant reviews its stand on the project. Despite all effort put in by each party, it is unfortunate that no consensus could be reached. In the circumstances, and being given that all possible alternatives were exhausted, the assignment to Desai and Associate was terminated in February 2023, and in the same month of February 2023, the Performance Review Committee recommended that the contract be awarded to the second lowest bidder. Regarding to part B of the question, I'm informed that Vias Consulting Engineers, the second lowest bidder, the second lowest consultant, under the framework agreement for consulting services, was appointed on the 15 March 2023 for the study, design, and supervision of works for the flood mitigation measures at Saint-Jean Cemetery. With regard to part C of the question, I'm informed that no payment was made to Desai and Associate Limited, and as at date, an amount of 300,000 rupees has been paid by Vias Consulting Engineers Limited on finalization of the preliminary design report as per its contractual term. With regard to part D of the question, the honourable member will appreciate that the reports submitted by the consultant are meant to be working document for the technical officers of my ministry. I wish to inform the House that in my reply to the PNQ on the 14th November 2023, I gave details regarding the main recommendations contained in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, this is an acute and chronic problem. I expect Minister to expedite because there are expectations in the region of Belrose and Catavold. Can I ask the Minister whether the consultant, right, is the consultant working on a global solution for Catavold or Felix to resolve the problem as at Old Mocha Road as it's.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is why we have the LDA. LDA is having a holistic approach. They are trained engineers with state-of-art technology, and they are, my official, are competent enough. We don't require much, and this is eventually, we want to build in-house capacity so as we do not have to rely much on consultants eventually. So yes, LDA is working on the holistic approach, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank to the Minister of Finance, who has very rapidly expedite matters and has conveyed the financial clearance for the project, and work order has already been issued, and same is being followed by my colleagues of the constituency.
MP Ngapasad.
Have another supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Your number? Can you give me 1 minute?
It's your prerogative, you can have 2 minutes.
Okay. Let me look at your question first, Dr. Boulel. Your question has got 4 parts. 4 parts. In the standing orders, it is written that questions should not be long. But we know you an MP for the constituency, you want to have a question, I, the speaker, allowed. Thank me for that. Therefore, I am speaking. Be polite. Doctor, be polite. Good. So 4 parts have been answered by the minister. You had 1 supplementary, I allowed it. And I test the ground, the value of your supplementary, whether it stands a test of questions, supplementary questions. I judge, and I have the right to do it. You see? So let us smile and continue. So,
B1603.
Mr. Speaker, sir, since the question of the Honourable second member for Grand-Bain Poudre d'Or does not refer to any particular period in time, all available records at my ministry relating to the area specified have to be retrieved and consulted. Hence, the information is being compiled and will be placed in the Library of the National Assembly as soon as possible.
May I ask the Honourable Minister whether his ministry is in possession of a letter from Luxury Resorts Limited whereby it is giving up and relinquishing the land for which it was issued a letter of reservation?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Speaker, sir.
next question. So, Honorable Itu? There's a question in your name.
B1604. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, sir, since the first AIDS case was registered in Mauritius in 1987 till September 2023, 9,109 cases have been reported among Mauritians, including 117 children, with 6,503 being males and 2,606 females. There have been 2,175 deaths registered among people diagnosed with HIV since the start of the epidemic in the country up to September 2023. The estimated number of people living with HIV in Mauritius is 14,000. According to latest available statistics, the number of Mauritians diagnosed and living with HIV and AIDS as at end of September 2023 was 6,934. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry, in line with the recommendations of the international agencies such as the WHO and UNAIDS, provides a combination of HIV prevention to curb the incidence of HIV/AIDS in Mauritius. Combination HIV prevention is a mix of different strategies to complement each other to minimize the risk of HIV transmission as well as its acquisition. The HIV prevention programs are conducted in partnership with line ministries, NGOs, community-based organizations, and other actors engaged in the fight against HIV, so as to reach as many people as possible, both at the population at large and key populations. They consist of enabling people to be aware of the risk and to have the coping skills and all necessary tools to protect against HIV. Communication through the media and social media, targeted awareness, information, and sessions. These sessions are conducted in and out of schools, targeting students of grade 9 onwards, workplaces, tertiary educational institutions, vocational training centers, in hard-to-reach locations among the key population and in public places for the population at large. Face-to-face prevention, education and information. This form of awareness raising takes place either at the spontaneous request of a person who voluntarily attends the following place: the AIDS unit, an NGO, the accident and emergency department, or after an awareness raising session. Access to condoms. Free condoms are available to the public in different strategic places, including NGOs' premises, and are distributed during awareness raising sessions and screening tests. 19 condoms vending machines provide free, discreet and round-the-clock access to male condoms since many years with great success. This year, my ministry has installed 25 additional condoms vending machines in strategic places like call centers, private companies, NGOs, public gardens, toilets of certain supermarkets. Mr. Speaker, sir, provision of easily accessible and diversified screening tests. Testing is part of prevention. In addition to the enormous individual benefits of screening, which enables people to know their status so that they can seek treatment, it also reduces the number of high-risk relationships, since the majority of people who know they are positive protect their sexual partners. In Mauritius, for example, screening is carried out among inpatients at AIDS unit centers, harm reduction unit, in its drop-in centers, the accidental and emergency departments of the regional hospitals, with NGO premises, in methadone substitution vehicles, on hotspot sites where sex workers operate among men who have sex with men and transgender people. HIV screening is systematically proposed to all pregnant women attending the antenatal clinics or during the first trimester of pregnancy. 2 years ago, the new protocol introduced retesting of all HIV-negative pregnant women during this third trimester to diagnose those who get infected during pregnancy. Recently, amendments in the HIV and AIDS Act is catering the introduction of HIV self-test, which allow a person to conduct his or her own HIV test. Mr. Speaker, sir, provision of harm reduction measures. These are programs that have been set up for years by the harm reduction unit to get access to methadone substitution therapy to stop injecting drugs. Around 7,500 people are enrolled in the program. Syringe and needle exchange program for those who are not in the methadone substitution program are done since 2006. Provision of pre-exposure prophylaxis. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, is the use of an antiretroviral medication by HIV-negative people to reduce the risk of HIV acquisition. PrEP reduces the risk of HIV acquisition through sexual contact by 99% if taken correctly in high-risk populations like men who have sex with men, transgender people, and sex workers exposed to unprotected sex-injecting drug users who share injecting materials, people in vulnerable situations exposed to HIV and at high risk of HIV transmission can access PrEP. Provision of post-exposure prophylaxis. This represents an emergency treatment to protect and prevent against HIV transmission, and which consists of taking antiretroviral drugs after accidental exposure to HIV, that is, unprotected sexual intercourse, needle prick injuries. Post-exposure prophylaxis partially reduces the risk of HIV infection by 100% if taken early and correctly. It's available 24 hours a day in an emergency department of regional hospital. From January to June, 137 persons have access to post-exposure prophylaxis as per protocol. Use of treatment as prevention as a main preventive measure. This treatment as prevention refers to taking HIV medicine to prevent the transmission of HIV. Those persons who follow their antiretroviral treatment well have an undetectable viral load and are no more contaminating. Mr. Speaker, sir, as you can witness, my ministry, in line with the best practices recommendations of the WHO and UNAIDS, is undertaking multiple measures to reduce the incidence of HIV. However, it's an ongoing battle with many cross-cutting issues and interrelated factors. We have chosen not to give up this fight, but rather to continue to reinforce it in order to reach as far as possible the UNAIDS 95-95-95 target by 2030.
Next question, Honorable Abbas Mahmoud.
Thank you, Speaker. B1606.
Is it Minister of Health?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I wish to thank the Honourable Member for giving me the opportunity to elucidate on the internal control audits carried out at the level of my ministry, encompassing all health services. As the House may be aware, in adherence to the financial management kits, ministries are mandated to establish a robust system of internal control, assuring effectiveness and efficiency of operations, safeguarding assets and data, ensuring reliability in financial and non-financial reporting, preventing fraud and irregularities, and maintaining compliance with applicable laws, regulations, policies, and established procedures. The purpose of internal audits is to fortify and safeguard organizational value through independent and objective assurance and consultative services. These audits facilitate the achievement of objectives by systematically evaluating and improving the effectiveness of an organization, governance, risk management, and control processes. Mr. Speaker, sir, annually, my ministry, in collaboration with the Director of Internal Control, formalizes an internal audit charter outlining the purpose, the authority, scope, and responsibilities of the audit function, as detailed in the financial management kits. Following consultations with the Manager of Internal Control, an annual internal audit plan is established. I must emphasize that recognizing the paramount importance of internal audits, a dedicated chapter on good governance was already included in the Ministry's Health Sector Strategic Plan 2020-2024. As part of Strategic Goal 25, internal audits were acknowledged as central to my ministry's management, and the annual internal audit plan is shared in advance with the heads of sections, units for greater synergy with the activities of the internal control unit. Mr. Speaker, sir, since 2020, the manager of the internal control has issued a total of 73 reports resulting from planned and special audits at the level of my ministry, averaging 24 reports annually. Notably, over 62% of these reports, amounting to 45, are related to audits conducted at regional hospitals. In comparison, the period from 2010 to 2014 saw an average issuance of only 15 reports annually. A review of audit findings from those years revealed a lack of in-depth analysis, indicating a lack of seriousness and responsibility in preventing fraud and irregularities during the management of our health institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Internal Control Unit conducts quarterly follow-ups on planned audit reports to monitor the implementation of its recommendation. There is an ongoing audit committee which ensures the implementation of these recommendations for the financial years 2020-2021 to 2022-2023. Out of the total recommendations made for planned audits, a significant percentage has been implemented or is in progress, with the remainder posing challenges due to financial implications, lengthy processes, and the need for a multi-stakeholder consultative approach. Mr. Speaker, sir, with the commitment to achieving service excellence, fostering good governance, strengthening accountability, ensuring efficiency, and mitigating risk, Ministry plans to conduct 18 planned audits in the financial year 2023-2024, with 3 audits already completed to date. It's regretful to note that recently some members of the opposition used internal audit reports for political mileage, while at the time they were in government, they were not interested in in-depth internal auditing and accountability.
Next question. MP David.
B 1608.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Regrettably, many unwarranted comments and inferences have been made in relation to procurement process at the level of our ministry very recently. Therefore, I would like to thank Honourable Member for putting this question today, which will allow me to clarify certain vile insinuations made. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Mauritius Arts Expo 2023 is a budgetary measure announced in the budget speech 2022-2023 to offer established and emerging artists a platform to showcase and sell their artworks to the public. This measure also made provision for each artist to be given a grant of 5,000 rupees for participation in the expo. Initially, it was proposed to organize the Mauritius Arts Expo in December 2022 in the gymnasium of the Côte d'Or National Sports Complex. However, this proposal was turned down as the CJSOE Games were scheduled thereat during that same period. And from January 2023 to mid-May 2023, my ministry was involved in a number of other cultural events, and it was not possible to organize the Mauritius Arts Expo during that period. However, since the call for application for participation of artists in the Arts Expo had been launched since April 2023, and the event was a budgetary measure which had to be implemented in that financial year, the decision to organize the expo was taken on Friday, 19th of May 2023, for the Mauritius Arts Expo to be held between 31st May 2023 to 11th June 2023. Since it was determined following a technical survey that the gymnasium of the Côte d'Or National Sports Complex was infrastructurally not suitable for holding the expo, La Citadelle in Port Louis, a designated national heritage site, was instead chosen. 87 local artists and 7 international artists participated in the exhibition, whereby each participant was given a grant of 10,000 rupees instead of 5,000 rupees as initially proposed, as a token of encouragement and also to enable them to meet the cost of the framing and transport of their artworks. Mr. Speaker, sir, as La Citadelle does not have the required logistics for an exhibition of this magnitude, my ministry had to hire same through procurement exercises. I wish to inform the House that solely for the expo, my ministry had to undertake 13 procurement exercises. 10 restricted bidding exercises were carried out for various services, and 3 informal quotations were sought for other items. Immediately after confirmation of the date of the event, action was taken by the procurement section of our ministry to prepare the bidding documents. I'm informed that the bidding documents relating to the subject matter was submitted to the Departmental Bid Committee of my ministry for a first vetting on Monday, 22nd of May 2023. However, I'm further informed that in view of the complexity of the sound and light system to be installed at La Citadelle, whereby 2 exhibitions were being organized in parallel, namely a visual art exhibition and a digital art exhibition, the specifications had to be reworked by the sound and light technicians of my ministry. As a result of this, the tender could not be launched on that same day. In fact, I'm informed that it was a challenging exercise for the sound and light technicians of my ministry, as it was the first time for them to be involved in the organization of an exhibition of that magnitude, which also included a digital exhibition. The specifications were reworked and submitted to the procurement section for inclusion in the bidding document on the 24th of May 2023. Documents was vetted by the Departmental Bid Committee on the same day, and Mr. Speaker, sir, accordingly, I'm informed that with regard to Part A of the question, a restricted bidding for the supply, installation and operation of sound system for speech, sound system for musical performance, lighting and LED screen and video projection was launched by the Ministry on the 25th of May with a closing date on the 26th of May. With regards to Part B and C of the question, I'm further apprised that 9 bidders registered with my ministry were invited to participate in the bidding exercise, namely Stagecraft Limited, Impact Production Group, DB Vision, Damu Sound and Music, Ecos Production Limited, and Impress Limited. At the closing of the bids on the 26th of May 2023, 2 bids were received as follows. Ecos Production Limited quoted 5,034,000 VAT exclusive, and DB Vision 2,725,000 VAT exclusive. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part D of the question, I'm informed that as per the procurement procedures, a bid evaluation committee was set up by my ministry to evaluate the bid received from DB Vision. The bid from Ecos Production was not retained, for evaluation being 67.8% above the estimated cost. As per the Public Procurement Act, a bid cannot be considered for evaluation if it is less than 25% above the estimated cost. Following this evaluation exercise, the bid from DB Vision was found to be both technically and financially responsive. And with regards to Part E of the question, in line with the bid evaluation committee report, I'm informed that the contract for the supply, installation, and operational sound system for speech, sound system for musical performance, lighting and LED screen and video projection was awarded to DB Vision on the 26th of May 2023 for the sum of 2,725,000 VAT exclusive. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed that in spite of the short time period between the launching and the closing of the bid exercise, my ministry has ensured that there is a fair competition amongst the bidders. Following the launching of the bidding exercise, a follow-up was effected by telephone to apprise each bidder of the bidding exercise and of the pre-bid meeting. Moreover, all the procurement exercises related to the Mauritius Arts Expo have been undertaken in all transparency and fairness. Notwithstanding the above, Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the huge number of procurement exercises which the ministry has to launch on a monthly basis, to ensure that henceforth tenders are not launched at short notice, the ministry has already taken remedial measures. Framework agreements for main tenders such as provisions of marquees, sound system and light system, catering services, hiring of buses, and production of banners, which are the recurrent tenders, are being worked out by the procurement section of my ministry. It is hoped that these framework agreements will considerably reduce the pressure on the procurement section and on the staff of the ministry in general.
You finish? Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, le ministre a lui-même défini le Sound and Light System à la Citadelle as being complex. De ce fait, le ministre peut-il éclairer la Chambre sur la facilité avec laquelle un fournisseur arrive en moins de 24 heures à étudier la complexité d'un tel site et à fournir une cotation pour du son et de l'éclairage à hauteur de 2,7 millions de roupies et à être awarded the letter of acceptance. Tout cela en moins de 24 heures pour un site qui est complexe selon les dires du ministre lui-même.
Mr. Speaker, sir, firstly, I'm not a technician myself, so it's difficult for me to know how they work out the technicalities of a bid document. La règle de base, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that we ministers, we are not involved in the procurement process. So that's la règle de base. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, for us technicians at the level of the ministry, it might be difficult, it might be complex to work out the bidding document because, as I said, this event was different. It was a first-timer, and given the magnitude, it was complex. But it is not complex for people who are experts in the domain. So the service providers, this is what they do. It might be complex for officers of the ministry, but this is what they do, this is what the services they offer. So I reckon, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is my opinion, of course, because I say it again, I'm not directly involved in procurement. We are not directly involved in procurement. I reckon, Mr. Speaker, sir, my opinion is that the complexity will reflect in the way the officers of the ministry will prepare the document. But the reading of the document, that complexity will be very different. The level of complexity for service providers will be different, and la lecture, the bidding document pour les service providers, of course, will be not that complex.
So we move to the next question. MP Bagwan.
B1609.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in my reply to a parliamentary question, PQB 625, put by the same honourable member at our sitting of 23rd May 2023, I had provided the required information regarding Mr. RM, General Manager of the Central Water Authority, namely the date of appointment, the terms and conditions of contractual employment and remuneration. As already indicated, the Central Water Authority did not put a car at his disposal nor purchase a car for the General Manager. I am informed that Mr. RM has purchased his own car for use for official and private purposes on the 9th of May 2023. He draws travelling allowance in accordance with regulations in force. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next question, MP Abbas Mahmood.
1610.
Mr. What did you say? No, you are disputing my position as chair? Are you disputing? Oh, you are saying that? Can you withdraw the word? Bias, the speaker's bias. No, the speaker's bias. Can you withdraw that word and apologize? So you have to withdraw from the chamber? You have to withdraw from the chamber? You don't want to apologize for saying unparliamentary words or whatever, insinuation. You see, you want to create disorder. You want to create disorder in this house? So I'm asking you to withdraw. The population is watching. Everybody knows how the parliament works. Yeah.
People are laughing, stop. People are laughing at you.
I am naming you. I'm naming you. You are looking for that, I am naming you. I'm naming you. You move up. Sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms, do your work. Sergeant at arms. Some people are becoming mad.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that over the past decades, the informal economy in Mauritius has been contributing above 20% to the country's overall GDP. Global experience indicates that the informal economy contributes significantly to a country's economy and provides a source of livelihood and sustenance to many households. However, persons employed in the informal sector lack social protection and rights at work, and in certain cases, they may be subjected to unsafe and hazardous working conditions. Mr. Speaker, sir, government has always been supportive to the informal economy and has allowed informal, domestic and self-employed workers to operate and improve their working conditions. However, in view of the problems associated with informality and also due to the severity of the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, it became urgent for government to undertake measures to regulate the informal economy and encourage formalization. In this respect, my ministry, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, commissioned a study on the informal economy entitled A Diagnostic Study of the Informal Sector in Mauritius to facilitate post-COVID recovery. This study was conducted by the consultant firm International Economics Limited with the financial and technical support from UNDP. Its main objectives were to, 1, conduct a diagnostic assessment of the informal sector, its characteristics, distribution, and its specific vulnerabilities. 2, identify the gaps between the formal and informal sectors in terms of needs and capacities. 3, identify the opportunities and challenges for formalization, that is, drivers and incentives. And 4, propose strategic policy and programmatic intervention to strengthen the ecosystem to facilitate the transition to the formal sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, the final report of the study has been submitted to my ministry in March this year, and consultations are ongoing with relevant stakeholders. There are a series of recommendations which have been made in the report. Mr. Speaker, sir, I further wish to inform the House that my ministry is constantly striving to facilitate the smooth transition of businesses from informal to formal by providing several incentives and facilities. A series of schemes relating to functional areas of SMEs have also been devised and implemented to improve the resilience and endurance of SMEs in the face of emerging and more complex environmental dynamics. It is worth noting that as at 31st October this year, 317 graduates and 183 diploma holders have benefited from the employment support scheme being offered by SME Mauritius. The average amount of money spent on the scheme was 7.5 million rupees. 27 additional graduates will be placed in November, that is this month. With regard to support scheme, it is to be noted that as at 31st October 2023, 513 applications had been approved for an amount of 36.2 million rupees, out of which 16.2 million had already been disbursed. The beneficiaries represented a cumulative turnover of 1.9 billion, supporting 1,961 full-time employees. Training is also ongoing as at date. 533 entrepreneurs have benefited from training by SME Mauritius, namely 87 in business management and 446 in communication skills. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am sure with the support being offered to the SME sector, the informal sector will definitely be attracted to register as an SME.
Whose question was that? No supplementary. We move to the next question. MP Bilal is not here. You still want to have your question there?
Yes, please, with pleasure.
You see how kind I am? I've been waiting for you. Take your time.
B-stroke 1612.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the Model United Nations is an extracurricular activity which has been organized by my ministry for students of grade 12 from all secondary schools, state, aided and fee-paying since decades. This important activity aims at providing a dynamic and immersive educational experience that combines elements of research, diplomacy, public speaking and critical thinking, ultimately preparing participants for a better understanding of global issues and the skills necessary for effective engagement in international affairs. Furthermore, the MUN is a platform that empowers our youth with different roles in diplomacy simulation, whereby they espouse the ability to indulge in debates, sometimes controversial, but in the end, the enriched deliberations through the cross-ventilation of ideas culminate in our learners becoming more knowledgeable individuals. This innovative activity, Mr. Speaker, sir, which met with resounding success after its introduction, was sustained over the years. The Model United Nations is first organized at zonal level in the 4 educational zones during the first term holidays. The best delegates and best delegations of the zonal MUN then have the opportunity to participate in the National Model United Nations, which is organized during the second term school holidays. Finally, 6 of the best delegates from the National MUN are selected through an interview exercise carried out by senior officials of the ministry to participate in an international MUN. The last MUN was held in 2019. In 2020, the implementation of MUN at zonal level had started as per usual practice in January. The different delegations had already started working on their resolutions and were preparing for the merging sessions when the preparations came to a halt with the COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, with the sanitary conditions and regulations in force, the Model United Nations could not be organized in the subsequent years. Mr. Speaker, sir, today we see around the world the potency of the youth fighting for global causes, and yes, we say the voice of youth is important. What we want is to keep the flames of democratic principles alive in our young people. Thus, with the sanitary situation in the country back to normal, the Model United Nations is being reinstated by my ministry in 2024. In fact, planning has already started. The zone directors in January 2024 will liaise with respective heads of school so as to sensitize grade 12 students for their eventual participation in the MUN activity.
Vice Prime Minister.
The table has been advised that the PQB 1616, 1618, 1622, 1650, 1634 have been withdrawn. Next question, MP Kiran.
B 1614.
Deputy Prime
Mr. Speaker, sir, Phase 1 of the 12,000 housing unit project consists in the construction of 8,000 units, that is 400 units per constituency. Accordingly, 400 housing units are to be constructed on the site at Coromandel for inhabitants of constituency number 20, Beaubassin Petite Rivière. Due to unavailability of suitable and buildable land in constituencies numbers 1, 2, and 19, the site at Coromandel will also accommodate housing units reserved for inhabitants of those constituencies. Such an option has been made possible by virtue of the fact that the new Social Living Development Limited, NSLD, has at its disposal some 41 arpents of land at Coromandel. I'm informed by the NSLD that a total of 750 housing units are already under construction and will be allocated as follows: constituency number 20, 400, constituency number 19, 200, constituency number 1, 100, and constituency number 2, 50. As regards Part A, I am informed by the NSLD that each housing unit at Coromandel will be of 60 square meters in area and of a ground plus one configuration. The project includes on-site social amenities and makes provision for essential ecological measures, including rainwater harvesting, solar energy panels, and appropriate waste disposal systems. Excuse me. Insofar as Part B is concerned, I'm informed by the NSLD that the concerned stakeholders are obviously first and foremost inhabitants of the vicinity, in the vicinity of the construction site, while other stakeholders would include obviously the ministries and departments, if I have to list them, the Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of National Infrastructure, Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, relevant departments such as the Central Electricity Board, the Central Water Authority, the Wastewater Management Authority, the Land Drainage Authority, the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit, and other units. One could also consider as stakeholders private concerns, NGOs of the area. I mean, the list of potential stakeholders is endless. As regards Part C, I'm further informed by the NSLD that the project value of this project at Coromandel stands at 2,055 million rupees. Insofar as Part D is concerned, I do not, at this point in time, have an answer to the question. This is the part relating to expected selling price. As for Part E, I'm informed by the NSLD that measures have been taken to alleviate any inconvenience that may result from dust pollution. These comprise, inter alia, placing of green netting, charlons, as we call them, along the boundary of site near Pavé d'Amour Street and along Angel Fish Avenue, covering stockpiles on site with charlons as well, overall site water spraying 4 to 5 times on a daily basis, and continuously watering the areas where activities are ongoing by way of a water sprayer. The NSLD, I'm informed, holds regular meetings with inhabitants and other relevant stakeholders to monitor the implementation of these measures.
Monsieur le Président, l'honorable ministre n'est pas sans savoir que la région de Coromandel est sujette à d'importantes inondations. De ce fait, peut-il nous dire quelles sont les mesures prises par le constructeur pour que les futurs résidents de ces logements ne subissent pas le même sort que ceux de vétivers et dont les maisons sont régulièrement inondées en période de grosses pluies?
Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le député sait parfaitement bien que je suis toujours à sa disposition pour toute appréhension qu'il pourrait éprouver eu égard au travail qu'effectue mon ministère, mais il reconnaîtra sans doute le fait que cette question concernant les inondations ne se pose pas au vu de la question, du libellé de la question. Et donc, s'il y avait une question spécifiquement traitant des inondations, je me ferais un plaisir de lui fournir les renseignements nécessaires. Mais à ce stade, je n'ai pas ces renseignements. Je ne possède pas dans ma tête les détails pour la quarantaine de sites de construction concernant les mesures pour faire face aux inondations éventuelles.
So your main question is composed of 5 parts. I gave you one supplementary and you couldn't sustain it. So I'm moving to the next question, MP2.
B1615.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that from January 2020 to 27 November 2023, 30 serious and 14 fatal road accidents have been recorded in the region of Sainte-Croix, including Pamplemousses Road, Cocoterie Road, Richeterre Road, Carolalo, Batry-Cassé and Rochebois. The most recent fatal one occurred on the 23rd of November 2023, wherein a speeding scooter crushed into a 9-year-old boy along Débouché Street, Rochebois. We extend our condolences to all these victims, Mr. Speaker, sir. With regard to the measures taken since year 2020 to date, in financial year 2020-2021, the TMRSU has constructed a bus lay-by as part of a road safety measure together with footpaths and handrails along A1 Road at Abercrombie Saint-Croix at the cost of 6 million rupees. In financial year 2021 to 2022, the TMRSU has implemented 2 raised tables along Bernardin de Saint-Pierre Street at Vallée des Prêtres for the cost of 1 million rupees. In financial year 2022 to 2023, the TMRSU has implemented several traffic calming measures within constituency number 4 for an amount of 1.1 million rupees as follows. 1. Traffic calming measures along Avenue Pierre-Laval, Sainte-Croix, rehabilitation of existing rumble strips along Avenue Pierre-Laval, Sainte-Croix, and thirdly, flat-top raised tables along Sainte-Marie Road, Sainte-Croix. During the same financial year, a raised table along Le Cornu Street, Sainte-Croix, could not be implemented due to protests by the inhabitants of the locality upon mobilization of the contractor on site. Sir, for financial year 2023 to 2024, traffic calming measures for an amount of 2.3 million rupees have been approved and will be implemented by my ministry within constituency number 4 as follows. 1. Flat-top raised pedestrian zebra crossing with Belisha near Masjid Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Mosque along Bernardin de Saint-Pierre Street, Vallée des Prêtres. 2. Flat-top raised pedestrian crossing along Beit ul Noor Street, Vallée des Prêtres. 3. Flat raised pedestrian zebra crossing with Belisha near Draupadi Amenkoville along Bernardin de Saint-Pierre Street, Vallée des Prêtres. And 4. Flat top raised table at the junction along Batricassi Street with its junction with Sainte-Famille Street. The implementation is to be completed within this financial year. Moreover, a road safety inspection will be carried out in the above-mentioned regions in a systematic manner to identify any feature that may lead to future road crashes so that remedial treatment may be implemented before crashes occur. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister inform if his ministry is currently making use of any software to enhance its efforts to protect road users and reduce road crashes in constituency number 4 or in the country at large?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. I appreciate the concern of the Honourable Member for the issue of road security in constituency number 4. As she rightly underlined, Mr. Speaker, sir, the TMRSU has recently acquired new software, which is called an IMAP software, which is used to record road crash database through the use of geographical information system. This analytical tool, sir, uses a scientific and engineering approach to determine accident-prone areas. For example, within the road network of Sainte-Croix, data such as frequency of road accidents, severity of road crashes, its location, collision type, and number of casualties are recorded. Through this IMAP software, the TMRSU has compiled a list of regions in Sainte-Croix, which is being given due consideration to analyze the road crashes. This list, which summarizes the road accidents for a period of 3 to 5 years basis, will be used, therefore, to identify sections of the road whereby improvements are required to mitigate the risk of occurrence of new crashes. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the basis of these accident crash data, the TMRSU will now carry out road safety inspections and accident black spot investigation within the road network in Sainte-Croix, whereby particular consideration will be given at the locations of these road crashes. As I just said, the traffic measure that shall be proposed for Sainte-Croix region, therefore, will be creation of speed zones, implementation of flat-top raised tables, and treatment of black spot areas, implementation of proper traffic signage, and road marking and provision of street lighting to ensure night visibility. Thank you.
Next question, MP Lobin.
P1619, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Excuse me. I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix that it has not undertaken the renovation of the football pitch at Clairfont Medco. However, the Council has undertaken the construction of a mini soccer pitch at Clairfont. At first, the contract was awarded to Island Civil and Mechanical Contracting on the 6th of May 2021 for an amount of 4,715,000 rupees. But due to its poor performance, the Executive Committee had on the 30th of March 2022 decided to terminate the contract, and payment amounting to only 394,956 rupees was effected. Thereafter, another bid was launched for the construction of a mini soccer pitch at Clairfont, and the contract was awarded to Aim Plus Quality Construction Limited for an amount of 4,835,750 rupees, including VAT. Thus, the total cost incurred for the project was 5,230,506 rupees, inclusive of VAT. With regard to the construction of the open gym at Clairfont Medco, I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix that the cost for the project was 2,890,013 rupees, inclusive of VAT, and included leveling work and supply, fixing, and commissioning of gym equipment. The contract for the leveling work was awarded to Sunalal and Son Limited for an amount of 265,000 rupees, whereas the contract for the supply, fixing, and commissioning of the heavy-duty gymnasium equipment at Clairfont Medco was awarded to Alive Sport Company Limited for an amount of 2,625,013 rupees. With regard to part C of the question, the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix has informed that since there was an existing sport amenity at that place, no consultation was held with the inhabitant prior to implementing of the project. However, it is to be noted that once the contractor started the work on site, a board has been displayed on the subject site with detail of the work being undertaken together with the implementing agency as well as the funding agency.
Is the Vice Prime Minister aware that the inhabitants were very unhappy that they replaced the grasses with a synthetic pitch over there? So without prior consultation, because it was one of the best football pitch there with grasses instead of synthetic. Are you aware of that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of that because these projects are done by the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix, so I'm not aware of this, unfortunately.
Has the Honourable Vice Prime had the opportunity to visit the open gym? Because he will see that the amount that it has cost doesn't reflect the value of the works that have been done over there. I will invite the Honourable Vice Prime Minister for a site visit over there.
Honourable Member, this is just an expression of opinion. Somebody may say it costs more or it costs less. That is expressing opinion. Your question should be laid on background, factual background. No, I disallow this question. No, you have to learn how to ask questions. This is your right. This is your right. You're a barrister. You should know. So, okay. Okay. Next question.
B1620.
Monsieur le Président.
Standing orders are there. I can let you have a copy of standing order. Yeah. You're insisting for nothing. It's just, mouth service, lip service.
Monsieur le Président, mon ministère a demandé à Maurice Stratégie de conduire une étude sur
And you
l'impact.
stop there. You're going too far. You stop. This is the last warning I'm giving you. Whose question?
Monsieur le Président, mon ministère a demandé à Maurice Stratégie de conduire une étude sur l'impact de la hausse des prix des produits pétroliers sur l'économie. Je soumettrai les résultats de l'étude une fois connus. Merci.
You still have a question? Try, we see.
Okay. Can the minister elaborate on any mitigation strategies or proposed intervention outlined in the impact assessment to alleviate the economic burden on sectors like SMEs?
No, this is a supplementary.
A supplementary question.
Go ahead with your supplementary. Clarification. You're asking for clarification. It's not, let me remind you, it's not another PQ.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
not.
Let me listen to you.
Yeah. Can the Honourable Minister elaborate on any mitigation strategies or proposed intervention outlined in the impact assessment to alleviate the economic burden on SME sectors?
Monsieur le Président, je transmettrai la demande par rapport à ce qui a été dit. Merci.
Next question, MP Ganga Prasad.
Says 1623.
I couldn't hear you.
B 1623.
Minister Balgobin is here.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that since the appointment of the acting director of the Mauritius Institute of Training and Development in September 2020, and that of the chairperson of the MITD board in April 2018, they have proceeded on overseas mission as follows. Acting director, 6 missions overseas and 3 to Rodrigues. Chairperson, 1 mission overseas and 1 to Rodrigues. Mr. Speaker, some tabling details thereof as well as information requested as per the part B of the question.
Okay, I will take cognizance of it.
The table has been advised the following questions have been withdrawn. 1621, 1624, 1626, 1629, 1631, 1638, 1641. Time over.
Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded, the question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Aye. Ayes have it.
Statements by ministers none. Public bills, second reading.
Public bill, second reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to lend my voice in support of the Combating of Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill. I wish to begin, Mr. Speaker, sir, by commending the Honourable Prime Minister for bringing such an important piece of legislation to the House. The bill we are debating today is about human dignity. It is about the most fundamental right to exist and live as a human being. It is about protecting the most defenseless individuals whose vulnerability may worsen if the legal system ignores their problems and fails to offer remedies. It is undeniable, Mr. Speaker, sir, that human trafficking is one of the most heinous crimes of modern times, often described as modern-day slavery. Globally, it is estimated that human trafficking is amongst the most lucrative of criminal activities, rivaled only by drug and firearms trafficking. Through a variety of coercive practices, all for the direct profit of their perpetrators, this crime robs its victims of their most basic human rights. Human trafficking is a complex issue with a diverse range of victims and circumstances and is occurring worldwide. Mr. Speaker, sir, as part of our government's long-standing commitment to protect the vulnerable, tackle crime, and safeguard all victims and their families, this government is taking action under the high authority of the Honourable Prime Minister himself. Mauritius, it is to be recalled, has acceded, amongst other international instruments, to the United Nations Protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children, in September 2003. Guided by such instruments, our efforts through the National Action Plan seek to prevent trafficking from occurring, protect victims, bring perpetrators to justice, and build partnerships domestically and internationally. However, we are aware that our law enforcement agencies are required to better cooperate with each other in identifying offenders and victims. We need to cooperate better in the sharing of information about the methods used by offenders. We need to cooperate on training of investigators, and we need to cooperate on the enforcement action as well as on victim support. Mr. Speaker, sir, no country can tackle trafficking in persons alone. Trafficking in persons is a transnational crime. International cooperation is essential. This is indeed what government has done. It has secured the cooperation of international partners. And I will elaborate on three main cooperation we have secured with international partners. Number one, with the European Union. Second, with the US authorities. And third, with the United Nations International Organization for Migration. First, Mr. Speaker, sir, the cooperation with migration EU expertise, or mieux, MIEUX plus. It is the Prime Minister's office, Mr. Speaker, sir, which requested support from Migration EU expertise with the aim of strengthening the capacities of public officials to identify and refer victims of trafficking in persons, as well as on investigation and prosecution of cases. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mieux is an initiative since April 2020 which supports regional organizations, national ministries, local authorities, parliamentary bodies, judicial actors, as well as civil society organizations in improving governance and management of migration and mobility. It is a demand-driven EU facility for knowledge exchange between the EU and institutions in Africa and other regions worldwide. Mieux responded favorably to the request from the Prime Minister's office and mounted an ambitious project aimed at strengthening the response of Mauritius to combat human trafficking by improving the overall interinstitutional coordination. Together with Mieux, the project team has adopted a holistic approach involving key stakeholders involved in combating trafficking in persons in Mauritius. The Mauritius Police Force, the Office of the DPP, the Ministry of Labour, my office, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, as well as civil society organizations, to name a few, have all participated actively throughout the project. Mieux took a holistic approach when it came to the expertise deployed by collaborating with European, regional, and local experts who brought in different perspectives and experiences. Back in 2021, the Mieux team and experts traveled to Mauritius and conducted a capacity and training assessment. Based on the on-site meetings, including visit to a shelter, which welcomes and protects male adult victims of human trafficking, the team drafted a report that served as a starting point for the development of the standard operating procedures. To ensure ownership of the new tools, a series of participative workshops were organized with partners to discuss, on the one hand, the investigation and prosecution of human trafficking cases through increased collaboration and proactive and reactive investigation, and on the other hand, on the management of shelters. Expanding upon the results and recommendations of the workshops, the action also put emphasis on the role of Mauritian magistrates. The team arranged online workshop for Mauritian judiciary officers in July of this year. This activity aimed at developing the capacities of Mauritian judicial officers to hear and decide on cases that come under their remit. Thanks to the International Association of Women Judges, the session consisted in part of a peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, sir, after a series of internal consultations, the standard operating procedures were finalized. Our collaboration with MIEU highlights the personal commitment of our Prime Minister to ramp up efforts to combat trafficking in persons and address the gaps that were highlighted by the 2021 TIP report, which placed Mauritius in Tier 2 for the 6th consecutive year. The second international cooperation, Mr. Speaker, sir, concerned the Council of Europe. Mauritius, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a signatory to the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. And as a signatory, we have benefited from the technical assistance of the Council of Europe under the GLACY program, GLACY standing for Global Legal Advisory on Cybercrime, which is a joint project between the Council of Europe and the European Union. Mauritius has secured the technical assistance in the organization of important workshops on topics including law enforcement access to data, judicial and law enforcement training strategies on especially child protection, as well as criminal law reform and international cooperation. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have also engaged in a meaningful dialogue with the US authorities. It will be recalled that in June of this year, the United States authorities released the 23rd Annual Trafficking in Persons Report, and Mauritius was placed in the Tier 2 watch list. It has long been the concern of Mauritius that the US annual report is rather arbitrary. I say this because the country reviewed is not offered an opportunity to offer its comments on the contents of the report prior to its publication, and the country reviewed is also cannot also inform the US side of remedial action taken based on the findings of such a report. However, in the case of the latest report of 2023, Mr. Speaker, sir, as a proof of the US authorities' trust in the commitment of Mauritius to take a remedial action, the United States Embassy in Paulwy has informed us of the readiness of the United States authorities to partner with Mauritius in a collaborative approach and a dialogue process on all issues regarding trafficking in persons in the lead up to the annual publication of its report on TIP. We welcome this dialogue process and look forward to our healthy and productive bilateral engagements to ensure that Mauritius is upgraded from its current listing in the next report in 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, to effectively combat trafficking in persons will require the involvement not only of government, but of all stakeholders. Government will therefore also work closely with law enforcement authorities as well as civil society. As I stated earlier, Mr. Speaker, sir, government secured the collaboration of international partners, namely MIEU, Council of Europe, and US authorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have also secured the collaboration of the United Nations International Organization on Migration. The assistance of the International Organization for Migration was obtained for the preparation of the National Action Plan on Trafficking in Persons 2022-2026. This action plan is based on 5 pillars, namely prevention, protection, prosecution, partnership, as well as collection and research, data collection and research. it is important to highlight that under this National Action Plan, a National Steering Committee Against Trafficking in Persons has been set up under the chairpersonship of the Secretary for Home Affairs. This National Steering Committee monitors all the aspects that contribute to combating trafficking in persons, alongside other stakeholders such as the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, and the Police Department. One of the projects currently being implemented is the Improvement Trafficking in Persons Referral Outcome in Comoros and Mauritius, which aims at enhancing the assistance and referral mechanisms of victims of trafficking in persons. This project is being funded by the Joint Training Incentive Program, JTIP. This is a program funded by a grant from the United States government, both for Comoros and Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have chosen to highlight the international collaboration that Mauritius has secured, because this is the first time that Mauritius obtains the collaboration of international partners such as MIEU, such as the European Union, the US authorities themselves, and also the United Nations International Organization of Migration. A number of reports have been published in the past, whether be it Tier X or Tier Y, but no government before has secured the collaboration of such high-level partnership by international partners. I say it again, I reiterate, trafficking in persons is a transnational crime. No country will be able to tackle it alone. And we have secured the partnership of these institutions, as I have highlighted. This is a testimony of the trust, of the faith these authorities have in the commitment of this government to fight trafficking in persons. We admit there were loopholes to be plugged in our legislation, but it is now that it is this government which has brought this amendment legislation before the House. And with this bill, we are plugging in the loopholes, for example, on the question of the protection of the victims, on the shelters, on the allocation of the necessary financial means to support the victims during the inquiry until the time that the case goes to court. So with this amendment legislation, we are plugging in the loopholes, and through this bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are sending a clear message that Mauritius will not tolerate this crime, and that victims will be given the help they need, and that perpetrators will be brought to justice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
And now call Honourable Kondusha.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you. It is always a privilege to participate in the National Assembly debates on all proposed legislative amendments, particularly this one, being an extremely pertinent one. And I completely concur with the orator who spoke before me, the Honourable Attorney General, that it is indeed a giant leap forward. And I thank the Honourable Prime Minister, Pravin Kumar Jagannath, for bringing this important bill to the House. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, sir, the scene in front of our eyes is a recurrent one with empty seats in the opposition, which is a testament to the regard that they hold for debating such important piece of legislation, toujours en train de briller par leur absence, Monsieur le Président. Mr. Speaker, sir, trafficking in person is not only, as has been canvassed by all other orators before me, it's not only a human rights issue, it is in essence, it is a modern form of slavery. And in fact, it's not only a social, but it also has a huge gender aspect to it, because gender differences exist within this very complex crime. It has been observed globally that while trafficking for sexual exploitation relates mainly to women and girls, forced job labor significantly concerns men and boys. Under that lying these observations, Mr. Speaker, sir, we should not only take cognizance, but we should be rejecting vehemently the fact that unequal power relations prevailing in society, persistent gender inequality, stigmatization, discrimination are making women and girls more vulnerable to human trafficking. We should therefore not make any abstraction that a gender-sensitive approach is a sine qua non prerequisite to understanding and tackling this violent crime. Today, Mr. Speaker, sir, in this Assembly, the present amendment bill is testimony of the commitment of the Prime Minister and his government to continue prioritizing these issues and engaging with multiple international partners to develop comprehensive strategies and policies, as earlier stated by my friend Honorable Gobin. And in the fight against trafficking in persons, the government also works with non-governmental organizations to raise awareness, to assist our victims, to enhance law enforcement efforts. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius requires transformative vision, and combating of trafficking in person is a battle that cannot be fought by governments in isolation. It requires the active involvement of civil society, businesses, every individual. In fact, it requires international collaboration, like I said, and the fight against trafficking demands shared commitment above all. Prevention is our first line of defense. Therefore, we must continue to invest in education and awareness programs. By fostering this culture of constant vigilance, we can disrupt the traffickers' tactics and hereby protect potential victims before they fall prey to this heinous crime. But our duty does not end with prevention. We must ensure that survivors of trafficking receive the support that they need to rebuild their lives, and this includes, but is not limited to, access to shelter, medical care, counseling, educational opportunities, rehabilitation, reintegration into society, and this is our collective responsibility to stand beside those survivors, to offer them a path towards recovery and empowerment. Mr. Speaker, sir, even prior to any amendments to this piece of legislation, my ministry has had and is always having an active role to play in the management of cases of trafficking in person. Regular meetings on TIP cases are held with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, together with the police and other key stakeholders. My ministry provides for psychosocial support to female TIPS victims placed in shelter, and there is also a fast-track mechanism in place with the police. This is being institutionalized formally through the setting up of a dedicated unit at the level of the Mauritius Police Force. As we know, falls under the aegis of the Prime Minister's office. This amendment, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a leapfrog measure for our country in our quest to tackle trafficking in person. My ministry has been party to the consultations and discussion in bringing about this amendment, and we are very satisfied that a representative of my ministry will be sitting on the steering committee for combating human trafficking. We have recently and positively been informed that a building has been identified at Vakwa for accommodating male victims. The center has already been refurbished. Furniture and equipment have been provided by the International Organization for Migration, to whom we are very thankful. Mr. Speaker, sir, unfortunately the Honourable Member is not here, but with your kind permission, I would wish to take up some of the points referred to by Honourable Joanna Béranger during her intervention on the bill, on this bill, on the 21st of November, that was last Tuesday. And I quote, on est signataire de la Convention de la Haye depuis 1993 et signataire de la coopération internationale en matière d'adoption depuis 1998, end of quote. The Honourable Member mentioned those 2 years, Mr. Speaker, sir. And, well, her party is not even here present at this material time in the House, but all three parties of the opposition had at some point from 1993 been in power. So I would kindly ask the Honourable Joanna Béranger, whose father himself at some point was the Prime Minister. Did they not discuss or think that the issue of adoption was important enough? Mr. Speaker, sir, yeah, c'est ça la démagogie de l'opposition, day in, day out, when we come to this House for debating important matters. The reform, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the law for children did not come through any of the awesome threesome. Yes, there's a reference. You have to go back and listen to what Honorable Béranger said last week. The reform for the law for children did not come from the opposition parties, from the awesome threesome, as I call them. It came through the leadership of Pravin Kumar Jagnnath. And when I was listening to the intervention of both Honorable Utim and Honorable Béranger, it is wrong to say that nothing has been done with regard to adoption. One of the steps in the provision of this current bill being debated at clause 12A encompasses illegal custody of a child and illegal adoption. Therefore, it is so misleading when those two members were purporting that the issue of adoption is not being taken care of. This government, my ministry, the Attorney General's office, NGOs, all relevant stakeholders have been working together. And we are, again, grateful to the European Union, who has provided consultancy services to assist us in the preparation of the adoption bill, which is being fine-tuned at the level of the Attorney General's office. Mr. Speaker, sir, the population is well aware what our Prime Minister is doing, because his government has proven itself time and again, and I wish to put it on record, and I wish to reassure the House and the population, especially Honourable Joanna Béranger and Honourable Utim, that the adoption bill will be enacted by this government, and that's flat. As far as child trafficking is concerned, Mr. Speaker, sir, and again, to reply to the qualms of Honourable Utim, whom I took the time to listen to, although I was not in the country at that time. I heard he missed me a lot. We should discard our blinkers. We should discard our blinkers. Exploitation is not limited to the tourism spheres only. Mauritius has enacted, like I said, legislation to protect our children from exploitation, trafficking, child abduction. The provision at clause 12A in this current legislation will make it an offence for anybody to facilitate or securing the adoption or custody of a child through illegal methods. So Honourable Utim, being a learned barrister, should be aware, or maybe he's deliberately attempting to make as if he's not aware of all the provisions of this currently being debated bill and the one of Children's Act 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, very quickly to go over the last item I wanted to bring to your attention. Drugs, Mr. Speaker, sir, are frequently being used by human traffickers as a bait to entice victims. We witness these heinous crimes, these criminals using drugs as a tool of control to coerce, to force our women and even our children into addiction. It is unquestionable that human trafficking and drug trafficking are intimately linked, and this includes utilizing drug labor, prostitution, violent trafficking networks. For these violent criminals, trafficking women for sexual exploitation is just another way to make money. Moreover, drug gangs frequently smuggle drugs across the border using women and children who have been trafficked. So even before the arrival of this bill, I recall the Prime Minister's question time, there was a question by none other, by Honourable Utim again, questioning whether a dangerous drug trafficker who was the object of an Interpol red notice and was a fugitive for prosecution was being handed over to the Slovakian authorities. This person was a fugitive who, according to Interpol, was armed and dangerous. Honourable Utim and the members of the opposition must sit down and recalibrate their stance on matters of such national urgency. Mr. Speaker, sir, our Prime Minister, Honourable Pravin Jagnnath, he reiterated his commitment and determination during his reply to that PMQT to carry on the combat against drug trafficking, illicit product, and today reiterating his commitment to combat trafficking in person. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius cannot and will not be a refuge for criminals, and this is the very essence, this is the significance of this bill. We say no loud and clear to slavery. And to conclude, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will end my intervention by saying that combating human trafficking is not just a moral imperative. This is why I deplore the absence of the members of the opposition while we are debating such an important bill. It is not just a moral imperative, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fundamental duty that we owe to our fellow human being, not just in this republic, but across the world. I am done. I thank you for the opportunity. Long live the Republic of Mauritius, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, first of all, I wish to thank all the honourable members who have intervened during the debate, and I must say I'm comforted by the fact that there is general consensus on the need to have a strengthened legal framework with focus on effective implementation and to wage war against the scourge of trafficking in persons. We are coming forward with this new legislation, which is not only more severe against the perpetrators, but which also shows more compassion towards the victims of human trafficking by providing them with the required protection and assistance. It is also a legislation which empowers and gives the means to the enforcement agencies to ensure implementation of same. Moreover, the proposed amendments to the Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act is expected to enable all the stakeholders concerned to adopt a more holistic approach towards the issue of trafficking in persons. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have carefully listened to all the views expressed during the debates on this bill. And let me refer to the pertinent points and dispel some of the confusion which seem to be still latent in the mind of some of the honourable members on the other side of the House, despite the extensive and comprehensive details I have given during the second reading. Mr. Speaker, sir, as members would recollect, reference was made to the 2023 Trafficking in Persons report from the United States Department of State. Honorable Boulel, who intervened just after me, even stated that I did not make any mention of this report in my speech. I guess he was not listening at that time. And earlier I said maybe his ears are blocked, so he should try to see whether he could unblock that. The other members of the opposition who made reference to the report, and I must say maybe out of bad faith, failed to make mention of some of the positive actions taken by my government in addressing the issue of trafficking in persons, as has been acknowledged by the United States Department of State. I would like to enlighten these honourable members that at the very outset, the report highlights the efforts made by my government in partnering with an international organization to adopt standard operating procedures for victim identification and referral, enhancing efforts to screen for trafficking indicators during routine labor inspections, and adopting a National Action Plan 2022-2026. Honorable Boulel also pointed out that there has been no meeting of the Interministerial Committee for the past 3 years. Let me inform the House that the Interministerial Committee did meet in 2022, and this year as well, to take stock of the work, the findings, and the deliberations of the Steering Committee, which deals with coordination and monitoring of actions taken by the stakeholders. The Steering Committee has been meeting regularly, and it is pursuing its actions as per its mandate. The same member stressed on the need to rope in international organizations, private sector, academia, media, and NGOs. Let me inform him that engagement and partnership with these bodies are an integral part
of our strategy in the implementation of our National Action Plan. We have worked in close collaboration with private sector organizations and also engaged in discussions with representatives of the National Social Inclusion Foundation and NGOs, as well as international organizations like the International Organization for Migration and the European Union, amongst others. I will further elaborate on the effective partnership on this issue later on. The honorable member in question has alleged that in Mauritius, diplomats now, unfortunately, get away with regard to the exploitation of their personal employees. Mauritius, which is a country where the rule of law prevails, Mr. Speaker, sir, has no tolerance for such cases and does not, of course, condone any act of exploitation of these workers. In Mauritius, we have had foreign diplomats of good repute, and we have maintained good relationship with them and their countries. I consider it totally improper to make such unwarranted remarks against members of the diplomatic corps, especially in the context of the presentation of such an important bill. I should inform the House that in each of its annual report, it is the usual practice of the US Department of State to make mention of both the progress made and the issues that remain to be addressed with regard to each country under review on the issue of DIP. This has been the case for the previous reports as well, and on which not a single word has been uttered by the honorable members on the other side, as rightly pointed out by Honorable Lachman Roy and Honorable Danu. Honorable Boulel has also made mention of the Celerine, also known as Franklin case, although it bears no relevance to this bill. But as the House is aware, the case of Mr. Celerine is at the level of the judiciary. It is also very unfortunate that Honorable Joanna Béranger, who unfortunately, I think maybe she knew that I was going to reply to what she has been saying, has decided to not to be present. And I must say, in her intervention, with her usual presumptuous arrogance, has deliberately painted a dark picture of the human rights situation in Mauritius, especially human trafficking, domestic violence, and child abuse. Let me remind her that Mauritius upholds human rights as per the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is enshrined in our Constitution. Mauritius is a party to 9 conventions, treaties, mechanisms on human rights, including the African Charter on Human Rights, and is rated by these human rights institutions on matters pertaining to human rights, including combating trafficking in persons. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a matter of public knowledge that my government is dealing proactively with gender-based violence and has a new strategic orientation with regard to the elimination of GBV. We have come up with a national strategy and an action plan to address this issue. And during my intervention on Saturday last, on the occasion of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women 2023, I clearly stated that Mauritius is taking measures to put a halt to such inhuman behaviors. And to win such a battle, we should join forces and work collectively. It is therefore our responsibility to respond proactively to such a reprehensive behavior and bring the perpetrators to justice. In this regard, we strongly encourage victims to fearlessly denounce such barbarous acts and move forward, and to refrain from retracting after making formal complaints to the authorities. On Thursday last, I presided over the 7th meeting of the High-Level Committee on the Elimination of Gender-Based Violence. This important platform, Mr. Speaker, sir, involves the participation of 14 ministries and departments. A national strategy and action plan has already been elaborated and is being actively implemented ever since November 2020. About 64% of actions contained in the action plan has been implemented. We are placing a lot of focus on prevention, and through the campaign, We Remember, which has been launched, we wish to encourage victims of violence to come forward forcefully. Appropriate training has been provided to staff of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, and of course other stakeholders, to provide assistance and psychological support to victims of GBV. The Ministry of Public Service, Administrative and Institutional Reforms is currently carrying out an assessment which will be followed by an evaluation of the actions that have already been taken with a view, of course, to improving the situation. We have also decided that the Protection from Domestic Violence Act be reviewed. And I can inform the House that the Attorney General's Office, in consultation with the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, is presently working on the amendments. Monsieur le Président, certains membres de l'opposition se sont présentés en défenseurs de femmes victimes de violences. Pourtant, ils sont fiers de s'être alliés à un bourreau qui n'a aucun respect pour les femmes et pour qui les femmes ne sont qu'un objet. Ce bourreau porte le manteau de leader politique et connu pour ses frasques envers les femmes. Qui ne se souvient pas comment il avait pourchassé des jeunes filles sur la plage d'Albion, suivant une Macarena Party bien arrosée au Blue Label. Hein? Comment aller demander à Nita, comment la pauvre Nita peut oublier le juron du leader bourreau sur une plateforme électorale publique en guise de reproche parce que le micro ne marchait pas. Et que dire de ce juron employé par le leader à l'égard d'une femme, la qualifiant de paix? Moi, je n'ai pas ce genre de, je dirais, j'allais dire un autre mot, ce genre de bouche pour répéter des mots pareils. Je me demande ce que pense Madame Béranger par rapport à ce genre de qualificatif que son cher leader d'Alliance réserve aux femmes. C'est dire tout son mépris et sa mentalité d'une époque heureusement révolue. Est-ce que Madame Béranger souhaite remettre ce genre de mentalité au goût du jour? Je me demande si elle est fière de se tenir sur la même plateforme que ce grossier personnage qui estime que chaque femme a un prix. Est-ce cela le message d'espoir qu'elle souhaite porter à la jeunesse, à nos jeunes filles, à nos mères et à nos sœurs? Et comment le pauvre receveur de Carole Aliane peut-il oublier que ce même leader a abusé de son hospitalité pour voler son bien-aimé? Est-ce que Mme Béranger a décidé de faire l'impasse sur ce trait de caractère connu de son cher leader d'Alliance? Est-ce que Mme Béranger a pris la peine d'écouter le témoignage de la fille de cette épouse arrachée à son mari? Et je dois dire ici à la Chambre, j'ai la permission de la fille de la citer, non seulement son nom, mais de citer ce qu'elle-même, elle a vécu, elle a témoigné. Monsieur le Président. Et donc, est-ce que l'honorable Béranger a décidé de faire la sourde oreille face aux accusations de coup et de dénigrement de son cher leader d'alliance réservé à cette femme? Je ne vais pas entrer dans les détails. Monsieur le Président, Madame Béranger a pris sa place au sein de cette auguste assemblée en 2019. Et elle s'évertue depuis à projeter l'image de quelqu'un déterminé à se battre pour la cause féminine. Elle est en effet assez facile de venir publiquement faire de telles affirmations. L'important, c'est de mettre en pratique ce que l'on prêche. Je dis cela parce que cette même défenseur autoproclamée de la cause féminine n'a visiblement eu aucune hésitation. Et ne parlons pas de scrupules avant de s'affirmer fièrement aux côtés de ce nouveau leader qu'elle vient de découvrir. Et ce même leader, qui pas plus tard que dimanche dernier, Monsieur le Président, a affirmé qu'il mettra en place un projet de réhabilitation des agresseurs de femmes si jamais il revenait au pouvoir. Allô, Monsieur le Président, si l'honorable Johanna Béranger a un minimum de sincérité dans l'image qu'elle s'efforce de projeter, elle devrait sans tarder et publiquement demander à son leader d'alliance de faire de sorte à être le premier à s'enregistrer dans ce programme de réhabilitation d'agresseurs de femmes. J'attends voir, et les femmes de notre République également veilleront. On saura alors si Mme Béranger est honnête et sincère dans ses dires ou si elle ne fait que mener nos concitoyennes en bateau. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a matter of regret that the honourable member in the opposition is trying to teach me lessons on morality in matters pertaining to domestic violence, abuse, especially respect towards women. We on this side, my government, we stand strong. We want to set the example at the highest level of the state, contrary to what was prevailing previously in terms of respect towards women, children, and our elders. Mention has also been made by honourable members on the other side of the report of the UN Special Rapporteur, Mama Fatima Singati, on the sale and sexual exploitation, including child prostitution, child pornography, and other child sexual abuse material, published on 30th of January 2023, following her visit to Mauritius from 21st to 30th of June 2022. Here again, there was selective reading. The honourable members failed to mention that the special rapporteur also commended government for the significant efforts made with regard to legislative initiatives, the institutional framework, and child protection policies implemented to combat and prevent the phenomena, as well as the measures taken to provide care for and ensure the recovery and reintegration of child victims. The Special Rapporteur also made recommendations to strengthen efforts to prevent and eradicate the sale and sexual exploitation of children. And as regards protection of the child, I wish to highlight that during the last review of Mauritius before the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child in early 2023, the committee welcomed the enactment of the Children's Act, the Child Sex Offender Register Act, and the Children's Code Act. And it is unfortunate that Honourable Utim, who again, he's not here, has criticized the Minister of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, who was on official mission and therefore could not be present in the House. And today, she has participated in the debate on this bill. So I consider it to be most improper and unethical from Honorable Utim. Mr. Speaker, sir, if one listens to only members of the opposition, it is as if nothing has been or is being done by this government to address the issue of human trafficking in Mauritius. It is so easy to criticize when you are not in the driving seat, but have remained on the sideline for so long. Let me remind those who are not aware that we, on this side of the House, have taken this issue very seriously and have come up with a 5-year national action plan elaborated in collaboration with the expert assistance of IOM and which we have already started to implement. The National Action Plan revolves mainly around 3 Ps, namely protection, prosecution, and prevention, but also around a 4th one, that is partnership, as rightly highlighted by Honorable Danu. The House would recall that in my speech during the 2nd reading, I made mention of the recommendations made under the core areas of intervention so as to improve the situation and to take on board the prioritized recommendations in the US Department of State 2023 TIP report. The implementation of the National Action Plan has already started. Under protection, significant efforts are being made to protect and provide necessary support to the victims of human trafficking. In fact, the welfare and protection of victims of trafficking in persons are high on the agenda of my government. We intend to provide protection and assistance to victims and survivors of human trafficking. And this is why we have paid particular attention to the drafting of new clauses regarding the well-being and protection of victims who should not, in the very first instance, be considered as accused parties which may add up to their trauma. And hence, the new clause 4C makes provision for the protection of witnesses who are most of the times the victims themselves. So I fail to understand the logic of Honorable Lobin when he gives the impression that the sanctity of the office of the DPP is not being preserved, although witness protection is granted by the Commissioner of Police upon prior advice of the DPP. Moreover, it appears that Honorable Utim has misconstrued the new Section 6 regarding the stay of victims. And as a lawyer himself, he should have read this section in conjunction with Section 11A, which pertains to financial and legal assistance to victims in trafficking in persons. The object of these 2 sections are precisely not to compel any victim to stay in Mauritius, but to rather encourage their stay by providing them with the necessary facilities if required. This will be also a motivation for them to come forward as witnesses during court proceedings, as I have been informed by the police that, unfortunately, several investigations in recent cases of human trafficking could not proceed further as the victims had shown their unwillingness to stand as witnesses and adduce evidence at the stage of prosecution out of probably, I would say, fear, apprehension, and financial constraints. This is why Honorable Minister Kalichan has also ensured that the Non-Citizens Employment Restriction Act, as amended in 2021, makes provision for a victim or a presumed victim of trafficking or a non-citizen who is in a stranded situation to be granted with a special work permit to be able to earn a living and lead a decent life. It is also to be noted that consequential amendments will be brought to the Courts Act to allow victims of trafficking in persons to depone through live video or live television link systems, especially in cases where there are offences of sexual nature. Furthermore, Honourable Outim had referred to the intervention made by Honourable Joanna Béranger on the issue of exploitation of children. Let me inform the Honourable Member that at the level of the Ministry of Gender and Family Welfare, a multidisciplinary emergency child protection team comprising social workers and psychologists is on call on a 24-hour basis to intervene in child abuse cases. An integrated support service is also operational to provide a 24-hour free hotline services to children victims of violence that includes first-hand intervention and referral to the Brigade pour la protection de la famille and the child protection services. In addition, preventive measures are also taken by the police as follows. Widespread and regular sensitization awareness campaigns have been maintained island-wide to create awareness on the dangers and consequences of child sexual abuse. With a view to targeting the public at large, police safety and security exhibitions are organized throughout the island. The Brigade pour la protection de la famille and other units of the police participate in these security exhibitions through the delivery of lectures, pamphlets, posters, clips, and other materials to create awareness among the public on child protection and child exploitation. Moreover, the police respond to queries from the public and also provide them with the necessary information about the services provided at their level and other stakeholders as regards child protection. And the media is also being used to sensitize and create awareness among the community. Mention was also made by Honourable Muting about the need to come forward with the adoption bill. And I wish to inform Honourable Outim and Honourable Joanna Béranger that the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare is in the process of finalizing the bill with the Attorney General's office. The government is an action-oriented one. We deliver on our promises. Alors, un peu de patience, s'il vous plaît. Mr. Speaker, sir, contrary to what has been uttered from the other side of the House on the absence of shelter facilities, I wish to confirm to the House that a refurbished and equipped shelter for male victims has already been set up at Bakwa with the assistance of the IOM. As proposed in the bill, the shelter for male victims will be under the authority of the police, but will be managed by an NGO having the required expertise and skill. As regards shelter facilities for women, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare is facilitating consultations with registered NGOs to accommodate female victims. And every effort is being deployed towards the operationalization of the shelter. In the context, the EU, through its MIeux programme, after consultation with all stakeholders concerned, have submitted standard operating procedures for the management of both male and female shelters. The SOP provides a framework for the operation of shelters to reach the minimum applicable standards for the accommodation, assistance, and protection of victims, and providing integrated victim-centered services. This framework is based on international standards and good practices and has been complemented and further developed through a participatory approach based on workshops with the stakeholders concerned. International standards and good practices delineate the following main principles for the operation of shelter facilities for victims of trafficking. A safe and secure temporary living environment for victims of trafficking and for shelter of staff, well-trained and qualified staff working in a collaborative and interdisciplinary manner to provide effective support and protection to victims, a holistic approach to assisting the victims of trafficking based on individual needs assessment and individually tailored rehabilitation plans, assistance to the victims of human trafficking through cooperation among the key stakeholders, human rights-based approach in the provision of assistance, process, and rehabilitation of victims of human trafficking. On the basis of these SOPs, my office has initiated procedures with the assistance of the National Social Inclusion Foundation to enlist the appropriate NGO to manage the shelters. I have also heard several comments from the other side of the House that there may be no justification for repealing Section 4.4 of the Principal Act regarding authorization of a judge in chamber for the admission of a victim in a shelter and replacing it by a new provision to empower an authorized officer who is a police officer, not below the rank of an assistant superintendent of police, to admit a victim to the shelter. Many a times, the opposition has been criticizing the law enforcement agencies for their lack of promptness and proactiveness in admitting victims in shelters so as to protect them from the clutches of their perpetrators. More particularly, when these cries of despair for assistance are made at very odd hours, late at night, or very early in the morning. Most of these cases are unfortunately related to sexual abusers. And now, when we are taking corrective measures so as to have a more flexible system of admission of victims, the same persons are again against this measure. I would like to emphasize that this important measure is being taken because, as a responsible government, it is our duty to protect the lives of those victims and to stop treating them like criminals because they have committed no criminal offense when they are in such situations. Hence, it is not appropriate to say that nothing is being done by government with regard to support to victims. Mr. Speaker, sir, the concept of debt bondage, which is new, has now been added to Section 2 of this Act as one additional and important criterion for the offense of trafficking in persons, which is not found in the current Act. Debt bondage also includes working for no wages for debt contractor, for long hours without additional pay, which affect more particularly migrant workers who may find themselves in such an arrangement with little or no control over their conditions of work. And very often their passports may also be withheld, and they may be subjected to physical or psychological abuse and experience the worst harm of exploitation, as indicated by the Honourable Minister of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training. With a view to harmonizing case management, it is imperative to coordinate approaches across all stages of prosecution, starting with investigation and ending with the conviction of the perpetrators. And to this end, several steps have already been taken. One, the Office of the DPP has set a special tracking in-person cell at its level so as to fast-track cases of trafficking in persons referred to it. Moreover, the said office is convening regular meetings with the police, the Attorney General's office, the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, and other stakeholders, including NGOs, in the endeavour to harmonize case management. Two, a dedicated trafficking in persons unit has already been set up administratively within the police force. The enactment of Clause 4B will thus ensure its statutory establishment. It is a unit whereby not only different adjuncts of the police will be called upon to work together, but the officers posted therein will also collaborate with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Judiciary, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, as well as with non-governmental organizations, amongst others. And arrangements will also be made for this unit to benefit from international best practices and team up with similar regional and international bodies. Honorable Lobin can therefore rest assured that the officers who are posted to that unit are trained and experienced ones. Many of the officers of not only the police force, but also of other enforcement agencies have already benefited from relevant training and locally through the police training school. Training also imparted by the international organizations such as the IOM, the SADC, the African Union, and under the MIeux project, as already mentioned during my previous intervention. We have also tapped training opportunities from friendly countries, mainly from India and the United States of America. Hence, training has already been imparted on the identification of victims of trafficking, investigation, prosecution of perpetrators, and the management of shelters for victims. However, notwithstanding training which the officers have so far benefited from, it should be understood that training in this complex area is an ongoing process due to the dynamic nature of trafficking in persons. My office is thus making sure that there is sustained capacity building so as to maintain effectiveness and efficiency. 3. The amendments proposed in Section 14 of the Act, which provides for an increase in penalty for an aggravating circumstances, are meant to send a strong message to the perpetrators that we will not tolerate human trafficking involving the most vulnerable victims who are physically and mentally handicapped persons and pregnant women, amongst others. And also this bill ensures, through the consequential amendments to Section 15A of the Reform Institutions, that persons convicted for the offense of human trafficking will no longer be eligible for remission or release on parole. Prevention is an essential part of the holistic approach towards the war against trafficking in persons. And worldwide best practices to fight human trafficking lays strong emphasis on prevention. Accordingly, Mauritius is giving much attention to this area. As at now, Mr. Speaker, sir, many awareness campaigns have been organized by different stakeholders to sensitize the public in general about the scourge of human trafficking. In this context, some 1,503 sensitization campaigns targeting 125,868 persons have been conducted by the police. Moreover, there is ongoing sensitization of the migrant workers with respect to their rights. A Know Your Rights pamphlet intended for migrant workers has been produced and published in collaboration with the British High Commission in 6 different languages, namely English, French, Hindi, Tamil, Bangla, and Mandarin in 2019. The main objective of the pamphlet is to inform migrant workers working in the secondary economic activities of their rights, the possible remedial actions to be taken in case of violations, and also to sensitize them about the dangers of human trafficking. And I'm informed that the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training is currently updating the Know Your Rights pamphlet in view of the factual issues related to migrant workers' rights and human trafficking being a transnational crime which are of a dynamic nature. Mr. Speaker, sir, more recently, several activities were organized by the different stakeholders on the occasion of the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons 2023. As the House is aware, The World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is observed on 30th of July since 2014, following its designation at the United Nations General Assembly on 18th of December 2013, during which the United Nations reiterated its strong condemnation of trafficking in persons, especially women and children, which constitutes an offense and a serious threat to human dignity and physical integrity, human rights and development. The theme of this year was Reach Every Victim of Trafficking, Leave No One Behind. The activities organized by the different institutions were as follows. One, by the Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education and Science and Technology. The University of Mauritius held a forum debate by the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities on the subject matter of trafficking in persons, targeting all the students of the faculty. B, the University of Technology organized an assise on the subject matter, and it has also included a topic on human trafficking in the curriculum of BSc Honours, Applied Social Sciences and Counseling. By the Ministry of Labour and Human Resource Development and Training, which conducted sensitization campaigns and distributed the Know Your Rights pamphlets to the public. The Ministry of Gender, Equality and Family Welfare conducted 15 mass awareness campaigns on commercial sexual exploitation of children, including child trafficking, child prostitution, and other child sexual abuse. The police conducted sensitization campaigns through the Crime Prevention Unit and Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille in shopping malls, community centers, and educational institutions. Office of the DPP held a workshop in collaboration with IOM to raise awareness on trafficking in persons. As rightly mentioned by Honorable Danu, the 4th P partnership is also very important in our action towards the elimination of human trafficking. The National Action Plan places partnership with local and international organizations as an important element to take on board with respect to human trafficking, as it is a global phenomenon. With regard to close engagement and partnership with international organizations, my office has been working in close collaboration with not only international organizations, but also with private sector organizations, namely MEXA, which is an association which regroups export-oriented textile manufacturers. And in this context of the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, we have also collaborated with MEXA and the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training to organize a workshop on the 10th of August 2023 on the recruitment and management of workers in Mauritius on the theme, I quote, regulatory frameworks and best practices, unquote. The regional director of the IOM participated in the workshop. Moreover, MEXA, in partnership with the International Organization for Migration, has developed an industry-led code of conduct after research and multi-stakeholder consultation to guide export-oriented enterprises in the recruitment and employment process of migrant workers that covers all stages of the migration cycle. The Code of Conduct seeks to A, set out and ensure humane hiring and employment conditions to protect migrant workers in Mauritius in line with international standards on recruitment and migrant workers' protection. B, ensure that export companies adhere to and implement the Code of Conduct standards. C, build the trust of international clients on Mauritian export companies. And D, place Mauritius as one of the best host countries for the hiring and employment of migrant workers while taking into consideration the economic and social factors of Mauritius. My office has also partnered with international organizations like the IOM, the European Union, the SADC, and the African Union so as to benefit from the expertise in the fight against trafficking in persons. In fact, the IOM, under the Improving Trafficking in Persons Referral Outcome in Comoros and Mauritius project, has assisted Mauritius to develop standard operating procedures for identifying and assisting of the victims of trafficking. And their SOPs builds on existing efforts by government to develop standardized tools for identifying and assisting victims of trafficking. It sets out the steps to be followed during critical stages in the management of the cases of victims of trafficking. Each stage of the SOP involves a different set of stakeholders and promotes effective operational coordination and management amongst those stakeholders. The SOPs for handling TIP cases operate within the guiding principle of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children, supplementing the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and the Combating Trafficking in Persons Act. All the various stakeholders concerned have received extensive training on the use of SOPs and their implementation are in fact ongoing. Moreover, technical assistance has been provided by the European Union under the Migration EU Expertise, the MIEU initiative, to enhance the capacity of the Mauritian authorities to combat trafficking in persons. My office has been collaborating with MIEU to develop SOPs on investigation and prosecution of TIP cases and for the management of shelters for adult victims. On-site training has also been provided to the police, the Ministry of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, the Ministry of Gender, Equality and Family Welfare, and other stakeholders by the MIEU experts. The objective of the training was to enhance the collaboration between institutions to enable investigation and prosecution of cases of TIP to be carried out promptly. Mr. Speaker, sir, trafficking in persons, as recognized by policymakers worldwide, is a complex and sensitive issue. My government has so far made significant efforts to combat this phenomenon. We will leave no stone unturned to address the issue, bring the perpetrators to justice, and provide our full support to the unfortunate victims. The passing of this amendment bill is a clear testimony of our commitment and seriousness of purpose towards this common objective. Unfortunately, some members of the opposition, instead of making constructive contributions to the debate, have deliberately based themselves on only one report to draw negative conclusions on the situation in Mauritius. C'est comme si ils portaient des visières. The same opposition is continuing with its mudslinging campaigns, trying to make the population believe that democracy and human rights are being systematically baffled in the country. Fortunately, many of the ratings the country is obtaining from international institutions are here to prove the contrary. In fact, Mauritius has been obtaining international recognition in different fields. We take, for example, the Democracy Index 2022, published by the Economist Intelligence Unit, whereby Mauritius has maintained its full democracy status, ranking first in Africa and 21st worldwide with a score of 8.14. Mauritius is the only African country to be classified as a full democracy within the 24 countries identified, featuring, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the same league as G20 member countries like Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. Mauritius also ranks 13th globally in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Report 2020, consolidating its first position as the best place for doing business on the African continent. In terms of good corporate governance, the country ranks first in Africa on Mo Ibrahim's Governance Index for the 10th consecutive year with an overall score of 74.9. On the 2022 Social Progress Index, Mauritius, with a score of 75.44, ranks first in Africa and 47th worldwide. Moreover, according to the third edition of the Chandler Institute of Government Index, Mauritius is ranked first in Africa and 37th globally. The indices focus on 7 pillars, notably leadership and foresight, robust laws and policies, strong institution, financial stewardship, attractive marketplace, global influence and reputation, and helping people rise. Mauritius has also retained its first position as a leading magnet for innovation in Africa in the 2023 Global Innovation Index. We are equally ranked the 57th most innovative economy globally as per G2. The G2 provides an evaluation of the performance of 132 global economies across 7 criteria: institution, human capital and research, infrastructure, market sophistication, business sophistication, knowledge and technology outputs, and creative outputs. Mauritius' economic freedom score is 70.6, making its economy the 26th freest economy in the 2023 Economic Freedom Index. Mauritius is ranked first in the sub-Saharan African region, and its overall score is well above the world average. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Global Peace Index is produced by the Institute for Economics and Peace, an international think tank. The Global Peace Index report presents the most comprehensive data-driven analysis to date on peace trends, the economic value of peace, and how to develop peaceful societies. It ranks 163 independent states and territories according to their level of peacefulness, using 23 qualitative and quantitative indicators. In its 17th edition of 2023, Mauritius has ranked as first in Africa and the 23rd most peaceful country with a score of 1.546, 23rd out of 163, Mr. Speaker, sir. According to the index, Mauritius shines as a beacon of peace and harmony in Africa. It has placed Mauritius in the league of high state of peace nations, which include Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, Spain, Italy, and the UK, amongst others. On this index, Mauritius has gained 5 places as compared to last year, which represents an improvement of 1.8% on the GPI score, owing to its progress made in, amongst others, the safety and security domains. I hope they can hear all this, what I'm saying, you know. Mr. Speaker, sir, peace can only be achieved through adherence to sound policies in terms of human rights, maintenance of law and order, promotion of democratic and ethical values, and a strong leadership spearheading programs and projects for socio-economic development. This is precisely what this government is doing. So the picture is far from being bleak as opposed to what the honourable members on the other side of the House are trying to portray. It is a matter of pride for every citizen of this country to hear, not from us, from an international perspective, the progress and achievements of Mauritius. This is a boost to our sense of belonging envers la patrie. However, we are not resting on our laurels. We are aware that there is still more work to do, and my government is sustaining its efforts in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, sir, the life of each and every one matters to us. As I said earlier, the UN proclaimed the theme of the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons 2023 as, and I quote, "Reach every victim of trafficking, leave no one behind," unquote. With this bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, no one is left behind. Thank you.
So you commend the bill to the House, Honourable Prime Minister? And is it seconded? The question is that the Combating of Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill number 17 of 2023 be read a second time. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. The ayes have it.
Public Bills Committee stage. Clause 1 short title, Clause 2 interpretation, Clause 3 section 2 of Principal Act amended.
The question is that clauses 1 to 3 stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Clause 4 section 3 of Principal Act amended.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the existing Clause 4 be deleted and be replaced by a new Clause 4 as per amendment circulated.
The question is that the existing Clause 4 be deleted and be replaced by a new Clause 4 as per amendment circulated. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it. The question is that the new Clause 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Clause 5, Section 4, Principal Act amended. Clause 6, new sections 4A, 4B, and 4C inserted in Principal Act. Clause 7, Section 6 of Principal Act repealed and replaced. Clause 8, Section 9 of Principal Act amended. Clause 9, new sections 10A, 10B, 10C, and 10D inserted in Principal Act. Clause 10, Section 11 of Principal Act amended. Clause 11, new sections 11A and 11B inserted in Principal Act. Clause 12, new section 12A inserted in Principal Act. Clause 13, Section 13A of Principal Act amended. Clause 14, new sections 13B, 13C, 13D inserted in Principal Act. Clause 14, Clause Section 14 of Principal Act amended. Clause 16, Section 15 of Principal Act amended. Clause 17, Section 20 of Principal Act amended. Clause 18, consequential amendments. Clause 19, commencement.
The question of that clauses 5 to 19 stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
The title and enacting clause.
The question is that the title and enacting clause stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it. The question is that I do report to the House that the Combating of Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill number 17 of 2023 has passed the committee stage without amendment. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it. Please be seated. Honourable members, I have to report to the House that the Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill number 17 of 2023 has passed the committee stage with amendment.
Public Bills third reading.
Speaker, sir, I move that the Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill number 17 of 2023 be read a third time and passed.
Seconded. The question is that the Trafficking in Persons Amendment Bill number 17 of 2023 be read third time and passed. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it. Half an hour.